Just talk.
I was once a Southside kid who was led on a journey by high school football. A journey that taught me discipline, toughness, and the skills that made me a success. As a businessman with a CPA license who owns his own firm, I still use the building blocks of high school sports in my everyday life. Someday sports will end no matter what level you reach, but you will be left with the skills to compete in the next game, the game of life.
In 1952, my father, Jim Kelly, opened his first dealership. Thanks to loyal customers, dedicated employees, community support, and a bit of luck, his business grew. 70 years later, that dealership has become the Kelly Automotive Group, with 14 brands and 3 locations, including our new Fort Wayne Auto Mall. Thank you for 70 amazing years. It's been the ride of a lifetime. We hope you join us for the next 70.
Yo, what's going on? It's Antoine Taylor with Matrix QB. I'm so excited to announce our new book, The Quarterback Toolshed, strictly designed to help you slow the game down so that you can speed up. Whether you're a parent, a coach, or a player, it's jam-packed with information. We're going to help you slow the game down by giving you a mental processor so that you can speed up. This resource has all the things you need, from reading the defense, passing mechanics, pre-snap filters, coverage ID, and much, much more. I'm so excited, and I can't wait to see you on the inside.
By this point. And welcome everybody to Around the Fort. This is state finals weekend. It's unbelievable. It's November.
Yes.
It's Thanksgiving weekend. It's the night before Thanksgiving. I've got the Killer Jays down in the cave. What a fun night we've got planned for everybody. Any moment joining us, hopefully, will be Drue Tranquill, Carroll high grad, a Carroll legend.
Let's go.
Certainly one of the top players to come out of Northeast Indiana all time. So we'll just have a little bit of a round robin until Drue joins us, guys. I mean, let's talk briefly about the Carroll Chargers and that win last week. What a win.
Yeah, dominant performance. I mean, Hamilton Southeastern came to play. They lost their starting running back, and that was a big hit for them. I thought Carroll did a great job. I mean, off the bat, throwing it to Jordan Hill.
Yeah,
That was big, wasn't it?
Who saw that one coming?
Nobody.
70-yard play was the biggest play of the game.
It was freezing, and that thing, it was a snow globe there. Mm-hmm. It's crazy because over at Spooler, they barely got any snow at all.
Yeah.
And, just a couple miles away at Carroll, and it was like, I don't want to say it was blizzard, but, I mean, there was just flurries everywhere. So, they got up early, played great defense. And I thought Steely, 20 rushing attempts, his most on the season.
We said it.
I thought he just did a great job of kind of controlling the game for the Chargers. And what another great play when Hill went in motion and took the direct hike and then snuck that ball in.
To execute it in that big of a moment. I mean, obviously they repped that a lot that last week, but it kind of caught HSE off guard, and it was a huge play.
Yeah, so honestly, I was kind of shocked the way Carroll controlled that game because it did feel like that. They controlled it. Oh, and by the way, Donovan Hamilton is awesome. That receiver for Hamilton Southeastern can play.
Yeah, you can tell. He's a D1 type for sure. Joe, Jake, what are your thoughts about that one?
Seemed big that Carroll got up early. I thought that was really big. I thought Steely was fantastic. I think Steely's a Power 5 kid. I think that, where Steely would be great at, Jeff? Michigan State. He reminds me of a Michigan State kid, a strong safety. But I thought he was awesome. Hill, I think Casey had mentioned a couple weeks back, we thought maybe, hey, are we going to see more of Hill? Hill was really quiet this year. And Casey also said they felt like, 6A was a real toss-up this year. A lot of good teams, but a lot of teams that could do something. So
no
absolutely.
Dominant teams
yes.
like in the past years.
Hey, guys, looks like we got Drue on.
Hey, there's our favorite LA Charger, Drue Tranquill. Welcome to Around the Fort, man. Thanks for joining us.
How we doing, man?
Hey, you guys look comfortable, man. That couch looks comfy.
Oh, you look great, Drue.
You look good, brother.
I'm gonna ask you the first question. We got a little echo, and this is our first foray into a Zoom in California, so bear with us. We know you don't have much time, but congratulations on baby number 3. Get our viewers caught up on where you're at in terms of your family life and your career now in the NFL for the Chargers.
Well, I appreciate you guys for having me on, man. The fort always will hold a special place in my heart, but no, I appreciate you guys asking. Family's good. We just welcomed our third little one into the world, Mackenzie Joy, and she's getting settled in. I had her last Thursday night, and man, just feeling so blessed here in my 4th season with the Chargers. We're 5-5, man. Gotta turn things around this second half of the season, get a playoff spot. But the family's good. We're loving it out here, man. Doing a little surfing when I can in the off season, and just enjoying the life, man.
That's great. Jake.
Yeah, man, we wanted to ask for the viewers here, what are the biggest differences that you've noticed going from high school to the collegiate level to pro?
Yeah, I think just the level of competition all across the board. As a linebacker in the NFL, you have the tough task of having to deal with 320, 330-pound guys in the line, and also having to cover guys that run 4.4, 4.5 down the middle of the field. And so there's great players. The speed of the game is a lot different. Obviously, the size and physicality. But there's a lot more demanded of you physically when you go from high school to college to the pros.
Joe Walburn here. Hey, we're all proud of you in the 260, brother. And we also appreciate the kind messages and your ability to give back. But talk for a minute what it meant to you to play for Carroll and to play on those Friday night lights.
Well, Joe, something that's amazing to me is just seeing all the coaches that are still there, that I played for. Coach Poppy, Coach Dinan, Coach Rudolph. All these guys that just meant so much to my life and my career and my development as a football player. And I just think of the times like going out to eat with Coach Potter on Friday afternoons before the game. We'd go over to the diner and get a hamburger and fries. Now, I can't eat that before games now, but I could get away with it in high school. And all of those coaches that just poured so much into my life. It was a 4 years I'll never forget. And it's so cool to see the program excel into new heights.
Yeah, Drue, you had a big part of that with the program excelling to new heights. This is Jeff Mahoney. And, Drue, there was a couple of times when people kind of thought, man, maybe your career would be done. Nobody has fought through adversity the way you have with some of your injuries. Just kind of talk about battling back, not once, not twice, but, I mean, like I said, there was times when people thought you were done and you never finished. You always bounced back.
Yeah, Jeff, it's a great question. I love this Bible verse that says, I'll boast all the more gladly in my weaknesses so that Christ's power may rest on me. And when I look at my story, it's like, man, I've blown out 2 knees. I've dislocated my ankle. There's no way I should still be able to play at a high level in the NFL, let alone at Notre Dame, And I've just seen God's faithfulness all over my life. It seems like every time I have a major setback, major injury, I seem to come back a better player, stronger, more physically sound. And I don't have any other explanation for it other than God's ordained plan. And so it's just cool. I'm just taking life as it comes. And each one of those, setbacks has been a big setup, for a big comeback. And, I'm just trying to keep chugging.
Well, folks, if you're just now tuning in, you probably know who that handsome fella is. That's Drue Tranquill, former Carroll Charger, certainly one of our favorites here in the 260. Drue, let's talk a little bit about this Carroll team this year. What an amazing achievement. Here they are in the 6A state championship game. Your little brother's playing for the Chargers. Just share some thoughts on this year's team.
Well, I've been tuning in, and I watched that semi-state game. I watched the regional game, and my understanding going into the semi game was nobody was giving Carroll a chance against Hamilton Southeastern. Supposedly that team was the hot pick to win 6A in the state. And just to see the way, specifically on defense, those guys played. I mean, they were hitting fools and they were humming and they were playing together.
right.
And it's really cool to see a team. And the story is amazing, just rallying around Owen and his story and what he meant to those players. And I think when you see a group of people come together behind a common purpose, extraordinary things can happen. And I think you're seeing that within this Carroll community, within this Carroll football team. And yeah, I mean, Ethan sent me a picture today practicing from Lucas Oil. He said, pretty cool moment. I said, man, that's so awesome. I'm so happy for you guys. And I wish them nothing but the best on Friday night. And I think they're going to give them heck. And I'm betting a Carroll win, man. We're bringing home our first state championship.
I hope you're right. That Swami, it picked against him again. I don't trust him. Joe, you got a question for Drue?
Yeah, Drue, you played in so many big games in college, and obviously playing in the NFL, every game's a big game. What do you think that pregame message, that pregame talk for Coach Dinan is going to be like on Friday night?
I mean, I don't expect him to say anything different. I don't think in big games you can't change the formula. You got to go with what's been working, and I think it's going to be stick together. We're going to go through ups and downs, whatever this game throws at us.
Yeah.
You have a plan going into a game, and it almost never goes according to plan. And so I think they're going to stick to their formula, which has been play tough, together football, and they're going to bleed blue the whole game, the brotherhood, and they're going to sweat it out. And I anticipate a battle, man, for 4 quarters or however long it goes.
Hey, Drue, when you get to watch this year's Carroll team, any players, especially on defense, really stick out to you that you kind of think, man, he kind of plays like I did?
Hey, that Steely kid, man, number 5. I know there's 2 of them, but man, he was hit sticking fools, and I'm like, wow. And he was toting the rock on offense, man. I was like, man, that kid's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I think there's another kid in the back end, Jorge Valdez. He was smacking guys. I mean, they got guys all across the board, man. I could go on and on of different guys. I was like, wow, I'm very impressed by those guys.
Drue, I got to take you back to when you moved to Fort Wayne. I don't know if you remember or not. You guys joined the PAL team, and Dan Chitwood, former coach, God rest his soul, he and I were coaching PAL together, and he came to me and said, I've got these 2 kids from Tennessee, and we got to find a spot for them. And we were like lamenting the fact because we had about 4 days before our first game. And I said, okay, I'll take the younger one, Justin. You take the older one, Drue, for varsity. I had the JV team. And when you guys showed up to the first practice, you guys were wearing shorts, cut-off shirts, and just were trucking kids. And we had to calm you guys down. Talk a little bit about, moving north and coming to Fort Wayne and those early football experiences.
Well, we joke all the time. They don't let kids play tackle football till 8 or 9, 10, 11, 12 years old nowadays. When we were growing up in Tennessee, my mom had us out there, pants hanging down to your ankle, your knee pads are covering your shins. And we were out there 5 and 6 years old, playing ball.
Yeah.
And so when we moved to Indiana, that was my parents, kind of first question when they were looking at, where are our kids going to go to school. First, it was, where is going to provide a good academic opportunity. But it was second, where are they going to have a chance to play some ball? And, Northwest Allen ended up being that spot for us. But I'll never forget those days out there in that big field at Maple Creek, man. All those hills, man, all the divots, man, running those wind sprints. And, man, it's crazy. Time flies.
For sure. Drue, talk briefly, if you can, about the decision to go to Notre Dame. Originally, you were heading towards Purdue, it looked like. And then the Irish came in and offered you. And talk a little bit about that decision and the trajectory, I think, on your career.
Yeah, it was a very, very difficult decision for me because I had, met with Coach Hazel at the time. And ironically, Coach Freeman, who's now at Notre Dame, was the linebacker coach at Purdue and had been recruiting me. And I love the coaching staff there and the people there. And there was a good chance I was going to go right in there and start as a true freshman and have a big impact and a big opportunity. And my now wife, Jackie, was going there. And so there were all the reasons in the world to go there, but I felt a certain peace about rolling the dice with Notre Dame, a place where at my recruiting visit, the coach was like, you'll probably be a developmental linebacker for us and maybe see some playing time in your 3rd or 4th year. And my mom walked out of that and she's like, don't ever let anybody tell you what you can or can't do. Amen. And I was like, man, there was just some peace about believing in myself and going to Notre Dame where there weren't as many guarantees. There were a lot of like highly touted, highly recruited guys, 5-star guys, God had a plan all along, and that was right where I was supposed to be, and had a great 5 years there.
You sure did. Drue, we only have a few minutes left. You only have a few minutes left. Thank you for sharing 15 with us tonight. Talk a little bit about, I guess, the state of the 260, Fort Wayne, Northeast Indiana football. How good is the football in this little tiny nook in Northeast Indiana?
Man, it's improving. It's improving so much. You see the competition growing. It used to be that, Penn kind of dominated the northern half of Indiana, and then it was always the Indy schools that were running the state. And it's so cool to see Snyder, to see Dwenger, Lewis, Carroll. And I think, initially when Carroll moved to the SAC, there were a lot of people who didn't believe that they would do well at all, changing conferences and playing a higher competition. But just to see them excel, see Homestead, excel in the SAC has been a really cool thing. And I think you're starting to see a culture, built at Carroll. More guys are wanting to come. More kids are wanting to play for Carroll. More kids are wanting to bleed blue. And I think my mom told me they had like 147 kids or 163 kids come out for football this year. And I think, whenever you start building something and people see results, people want to come aboard, be a part of it. And so you're seeing that. Coach Dinan, I think in his 12th season, I think he got there in 2010. And just to see what he's done, it's nothing short of amazing. You can't say enough.
Well, we only got a couple of minutes left. What's the message that you could give to the Carroll Chargers going into this game? I know you spoke on it a little bit, but again, one more pump up from Drue Tranquill for the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, I would tell the guys to stay together. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs, just like there's been this season. You get down early in some of those playoff games, and you find a way to battle back. You face incredible adversity, losing a brother in Owen at the beginning of the season. You're starting quarterback and you lose him weeks before the season. And all you've done is stay together all year long. You're undefeated. The storyline's incredible. You don't have to do anything spectacular or out of the ordinary. You just got to play the brand of football that you've been playing all year long, which is together, bleeding blue for the brotherhood. And just seeing those guys, I mean, I only get to watch the webcams. I haven't been able to be at a game. But seeing you guys jump around, embrace each other after the win at semi-state, I mean, that told me all I needed to see, all I needed to hear about the culture that you guys have in that locker room. So stick together, man. Go beat Center Grove and bring us home that first state title.
Awesome. Well said, Drue. Ladies and gentlemen, that is former Carroll standout, former Notre Dame standout, and current LA Charger Drue Tranquill. Drue, thank you so much for joining us on Around the Fort tonight. It means a lot.
Hey, thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure.
All right. God bless, man.
Brother.
Good to see you.
Thanks,
Proud
Drue.
of you.
Hey,
I'm
see
proud
y'all.
of you. 260.
Absolutely awesome.
Well, we take a quick break here, and then when we come back, we have little brother Justin, who's quite a character and a heck of a player in his own right. So stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
I was once a Southside kid who was led on a journey by high school football. A journey that taught me discipline, toughness, and the skills that made me a success. As a businessman with a CPA license who owns his own firm, I still use the building blocks of high school sports in my everyday life. Someday sports will end no matter what level you reach, but you will be left with the skills to compete in the next game, the game of life.
In 1952, my father, Jim Kelly, opened his first dealership. Thanks to loyal customers, dedicated employees, community support, and a bit of luck, his business grew. 70 years later, that dealership has become the Kelly Automotive Group, with 14 brands in 3 locations, including our new Fort Wayne Auto Mall. Thank you for 70 amazing years. It's been the ride of a lifetime. We hope you join us for the next 70.
Yo, what's going on? It's Antoine Taylor with Matrix QB. I'm so excited to announce our new book, The Quarterback Tool Shed. Strictly designed to help you slow the game down so that you can speed up. Whether you're a parent, a coach, or a player, it's jam-packed with information. We're going to help you slow the game down by giving you a mental processor so that you can speed up. This resource has all the things you need, from reading the defense, passing mechanics, pre-snap filters, coverage ID, and much, much more. I'm so excited, and I can't wait to see you on the inside.
And welcome back to Around the Fort, part 2 of the Tranquill Double Trouble Tandem. I've got little brother, I like to call him little brother, Justin Tranquill, who's a heck of a football player in his own right at Carroll and then at Western Michigan. Justin, you're in Southern California now with your lovely bride. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing there and how things are going with your career.
Yeah, things are good, man. A lot of people don't know this. I actually did have probably a 8-month stint out here where I got plugged in with a professional training place called Pro Code that was in Irvine. And I was working with Drue's agent actually to kind of give NFL a shot on my end, just do like some workouts, things like that. So spent probably like 7-8 months training. No workouts with any NFL teams really panned out just because of like timing, start of the season. But ended up doing like an XFL showcase and like did really well there. Had the opportunity to go into the or participate in the upcoming XFL draft, but wife and I also found out that we have our first baby girl on the way.
Congratulations.
So we're joining that club. We're super stoked about it. But yeah, basically now I pivoted from kind of the training, focusing on career now. And as far as what I'm doing, been doing some home remodel sales for a company out here for probably about 3 or 4 months now. That's been going really well, and industry that I'm interested in kind of pursuing and learning. So it's what we've been up to.
Excellent.
Fantastic, man. I want to ask you, this is Joe Walburn. What did it mean to you to play for Carroll and to play on those Friday nights?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, you got to think of it like this. Like Drue and I, we always had the aspirations and the dreams of playing college football, playing in the NFL. Man, we grew up watching Auburn with our dad, so we were diehard like Ronnie Brown, Cadillac Yankees fans.
War Eagle.
Yep.
Exactly. And so for us, Carroll was like the starting point for all of it for us. I mean, between Coach Dinan, the exposure that we got with being at a notable school like Carroll and, having some success during our time there, it was really a launching pad for us. And again, just like the supportive nature of Coach Dinan, the entire staff while we were there was incredible. So, I mean, Carroll's got a very, very special place, I know, in my heart and in Drue's. And so to kind of see how this season's unfolded and seeing how really the community as a whole, I would say, has rallied around Owen, his family, the entire team. I mean, I'm getting chills out here even talking about it, but it's been like that the entire season, watching this team week after week go out and just put on spectacular performances from the players to the coaches. So it's been special coming from a spot where that was like me and Drue's starting point, and then full circle to see the team having a season like they are this year is just incredible.
Yeah, and Justin, you guys were a huge part of kind of Carroll getting on the map. Coach Dinan's first year was in 2010, they're 5-6, and then you guys rattle off back-to-back sectional championships, with the last one coming in 2014. What was that time period like with Carroll football, where people really started to respect the Chargers?
Yeah, it's interesting, man. I mean, people still to this day will talk to me and Drue, kind of like Carroll legends, if you will. But like in both of our minds, like during our time there, it didn't feel like it was something that special that per se we were doing. I mean, we were very fortunate with Coach Dinan, with the keep losing you guys on video, sorry. But just very fortunate with, Coach Dinan, the rest of the staff there, and then even just like the team members and teammates that we played alongside. So for us, it was like we're getting to do something that we love at a fantastic school in a fantastic city, surrounded by a community that was very supportive. So that season of life I just reflect on often, because obviously as you get older, your responsibilities grow. You got a kid on the way, you got a career. And so I look back on those times and I'm just like, man, that was just such a special time, getting to play alongside my older brother, having a lot of success with the program, and just getting to be a part of, being a part of building something special that you now see continuing to be improved on today.
Yeah, Justin, this is Casey again. We asked Drue about this. I often tell the story about when Dan Chitwood, Coach Chitwood, and he called me and said, "Hey, we got these two kids from Tennessee coming in. I know we just set our rosters. I'll take one for varsity. You take the little brother for JV, and we'll just roll. I don't know anything about him." And I remember I was like, "Oh, Dan, can't we just pawn them off on Homestead or one of these other feeders or something?" He's like, "No, we got to take these guys. Their mom says they're pretty good." I'm like, "Oh, okay, moms, okay." Well, you guys showed up at the first practice, shorts, cut off shirts. All the other boys out there at PAL are playing in full pads, and you guys just start laying kids out and trucking them. And I looked over at Dan Chitwood and I go, "Oh yeah, I'll find a spot for him."
We'll find
talk about those early days when you moved from Tennessee to Fort Wayne and maybe some of those PAL memories and early grade school memories.
And I still remember even there was the field over off of Coldwater. Was it
Maple
like the
Creek?
little Leo?
No, was it Maple Creek or Carroll Middle?
Well, we did practices at Maple Creek, and then we would have games on like Saturday mornings over. It was like Shawnee Elementary School or like Shawnee Middle School.
Mm-hmm.
We would have games there. We had the ones out southwest, outside that big field, outside that one church.
Yes.
But like, I still talk about those weekends with my dad, Tony, and with Drue. I mean, for us, it was like we moved from Tennessee where, me and Drue being only 16 months apart in age, everything we did growing up was competitive. We'd play trampoline football. We'd have airsoft wars in the backyard. We'd wrestle in the bedroom. It was like we couldn't do anything without competing. So, we moved to Indiana. My mom's telling us like, oh, they typically don't even start tackle football till 5th grade here. And, coming from Tennessee, we were playing tackle football fully padded in like 2nd grade, 3rd grade. So,
Love it.
The transition, I think we were again, just kind of very fortunate, and it was a blessing that we landed with a program like PAL, had coaches like you and Coach Chitwood to see that potential in us and then give us the opportunity to do, play the game we loved. And, I think just kind of the whole transition from Tennessee to Indiana to being at Carroll, having AWP, like it's not something we could have planned. So a lot of people give Drue and I a lot of credit, but like we had so many resources and such an amazing community that supported us through, from 5th grade all the way until we left for college, that like a lot of the thanks that we give is back to, you guys, Carroll, and the community that we, grew up in.
Well said.
Jake? So you made a comment about the XFL. What are your thoughts on the XFL, and do you really see that as a caveat that could get guys back into the league?
A good question. And kind of a 50-50 ball in my mind. I mean, their last time around, they kickstarted the XFL. I think they made it, 6 or 7 games?
Yep.
And then kind of had to shut it down. They obviously have the endorsement of The Rock coming in, which I think will be helpful as far as ticket sales and making it a more viable opportunity financially for guys. It was really cool. I mean, I did my XFL showcase in Arizona. They had it at ASU. Did really well. Was like noted at the end as like one of the top 5 DBs out of a group of like 60 some. So it was like really exciting for me. And I thought that might open the door to potentially an NFL workout. I just think on my end, it's all about where you're at in life. So, I mean, I've got kid on the way now. We live in like probably, if not the most expensive state and city in the country. And the idea of, relocating somewhere to potentially, I mean, I don't know what the payout's going to be for XFL guys, but based on like some of the research I had done, it was going to be like around 50K. So it was just kind of a big ask on my end to relocate and kind of start over somewhere. and not even have 100% guarantee that, an NFL was going to be within the cards. So I think it's a fantastic opportunity for guys that, don't have the shot at the NFL. And I think for guys that go in there and do really well, it will be kind of a good way to keep your foot in the door for NFL scouts. It was just the timing of it really just didn't line up with wife and I and kind of where we're at in life.
Good answer. Folks, if you're just now tuning in, we have former Carroll standout Justin Tranquill joining us on Around the Fort. Justin, you talked about being so competitive, especially with big brother Drue. He's got three babies. You've got one on the way. I understand that you married a Tippmann lady, of course. I assume you're going to surpass him on the baby ledger. Is that fair to say?
It's an unfortunate circumstance when the entire Tippmann family is projecting 10-plus kids on us.
That's kind of the bare bones minimum, right?
I think, yeah, we'd be scraping by. We'd be doing the bare minimum with 10 even. But look, man, I'm sure you guys are accustomed to it. You guys have raised kids yourself. I mean, even babysitting for Drue and Jackie and their kids are fantastic, by the way. Very well behaved, great manners. But even on babysitting nights where I'm taking Eli and Grace by myself, by the end of the night, I'm like, babe, we're maxing out at 2-3 kids.
That's hilarious.
So look, Drue thinks he's got more in the tank. I think Jackie's at a point after their third. She's wanting to take a little bit of a break. Drue's, I think, just loving the dad stage of life. And, I think he's literally vocalized, he's ready to have potentially 5-6 kids. I'm going to take one at a time and we'll see where it goes.
I think once you hold that sweet little cherub, Justin, you might have a different feeling. For sure.
I believe it, but I'm not willing to venture to say it's a category of competing with Drue on the number of kids. I'm not making any bets there now.
Fair enough. Talk a little bit about your time at Western Michigan. I know at the time, I believe you were the highest rated recruit ever for Western Michigan. Talk about your days there and some of your achievements and accomplishments and memories.
Yeah, man, even just ending up at Western, I call it just kind of like a God-led thing. But, I tore my ACL going into my senior year at Carroll, didn't get the chance to play. And I was fortunate enough to, have Coach Dine and the rest of the staff still say, we want you to be a part of the team and coach. But during that time, it was interesting because, in my mind, I was aiming to end up at a school like Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, Notre Dame, like wanted to kind of go to one of those reputable big name schools. And then with tearing my ACL, not having that opportunity, but interestingly enough, having PJ Fleck at Western at the time, again, just kind of one of those things I couldn't have lined up by myself, but I think Western in hindsight really was the best fit for me. PJ Fleck, incredible coach, incredible motivator, and even just having the opportunity to come into a team that had never had traditionally that much success, and then going on to be a part of a team that won a MAC championship, went to the Cotton Bowl and got to play Wisconsin as a MAC school, and ending the year in the top 15 for college football, power rankings. It's just stuff that most people that go to a MAC school don't get to brag about or say they got to do. Another thing for me. One second, guys. I just got to move my car real quick.
Just hold over.
Another thing. Now I'm at our work office, and we had like a little office Thanksgiving party. So just letting a couple of our guys get out. There we go. But even, for me, kind of my claim to fame that I still joke about is during that Cotton Bowl, they had Corey Clement, and I had the opportunity to make ESPN's top stiff arms of the year. I was on the receiving end. So for you guys and your listeners, if you guys haven't gotten the chance, you can look up 2016's top stiff arms of the year, and I'm pretty sure I'm the first clip on there.
Yeah, Justin, we talked with Drue about this a little bit. Him coming back from his injuries, you as well. At the time, it just kind of felt like, what is it with the Tranquills where these injuries don't seem to face you guys at all? But just to kind of talk about that recovery process, and did you lean on Drue for support?
Yeah, I think it was, again, just a fortunate thing. Like a lot of people just see me, or they see Drue, or they see Jack having these injuries, bouncing back, and then just like getting back to playing. But behind the scenes, it's one, mentally, it's such a challenging thing to tear your ACL and be told, hey, you're going to be out for the next 6 to 8 months. Now imagine that happening to you, 2-3 times, and having to go through that process all over again and knowing what it entails. So I think mentally, it's not easy, but again, Drue and I were both fortunate, and Jack too, is like just having the support system that we did. Even having brothers that went through it as well, kind of like you just alluded to, like being able to lean on Drue, talk about what we were feeling, what we were struggling with, how recovery was going. Those were all big things for us. And I think even just more than that, we were both fortunate enough to just be natural. I don't know if you would just say naturally born with like this resiliency where it was like, okay, I've torn my ACL. I can sit here, I can mope, I can pout about it, or I can get my butt in the training room and start working towards recovery and getting back on the field, which was always the goal. So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways I can look at it, but I would say having the support system from family, friends, and again, even just like Coach Dinan and the staff at Carroll, letting me be a coach and still be a part of the team, the resiliency of just having that mindset that, yeah, I'm going to bounce back from this and not going to let something like this slow me down. Those all helped in, coming back from those injuries. And, it's fun seeing Drue come back from 2 ACL injuries, a broken ankle, and having the year that he's having this year in the NFL. So I think it's just a testament to, again, the support that we have and just kind of that determination and mindset.
And Justin, I know Joe's got a question real quick. Certainly your faith played a big part in those recoveries as well, correct?
Oh, 100%. I literally have on my forearm the verse Romans 8:28. You can kind of see it here from just a weird angle. Basically just says, in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. So it's just one of those things where, you can't control everything that's thrown in your court, but you can, control your mindset and your approach to how you're going to come out of it. And also just bearing in mind through all that, God's got a plan for this. There's purpose involved in this. I might not be able to see it with, my limited vision that I do have, but just trusting, God's got something bigger in store for this was always kind of something that was reassuring going through those.
Awesome.
Okay, Justin, you and your brother wore the great colors of the Carroll program. You walked in the locker room Friday night before the 6A state championship game. What is the message?
I don't really think there's much that I can give this team that they don't already have, if I'm being honest. I've thought about it. I'm literally getting chills even thinking about it, man. What the guys have this year is just so special. I kid you not, I've teared up watching every playoff game. And it's been hard catching all the games just with the time difference and work, but I've made a point to sit down and watch every single one of these postseason games. And I've teared up watching every single one just because you can see with the way the guys are playing every game that it's bigger than them.
Yes.
They really are playing for Owen, in memory and honoring Owen. The coaches even, I know they've done a fantastic job just running that program, practices, game plan, but you can just see on Friday nights when the guys are playing, the coaches, it's let the dogs off the leash and let them go do their thing. And if I could say anything to the guys, I would just say, I could not be more proud as an alum. I have no advice. There's nothing that I can add to what they have because what they have is so unique and it is so special that all anyone needs to do is cheer them on and get out of the way and they'll take care of the rest. I know they will.
Well said.
Yeah, Justin, when you watch this team, we talked to Drue about this too. But is there one player that you really enjoy watching or stands out to you? Obviously your brother Ethan's a sophomore. They got a great sophomore class. And your brother really likes to watch Braden Steely, who did a good job running the ball. And he's a big-time hitter from the third level on defense. But how about you? Who are some of the guys that have really stood out to you this year on tape?
Look, all the guys have been fantastic. Steely, obviously, has had just an absolute fantastic year. And he looks like a monster on the field. Like all the guys do. One guy I want to give a special shout out to, just from a DB standpoint, is Vasquez. He had the one hit. Say that one more time.
Yeah. Jorge Valdez.
Valdez. Jack actually had the chance to train him, I believe last year or 2 years ago, just doing some extra DB training. And I mentioned it to Jack. I was like, dude, Valdez looks fantastic. And he was like, yeah, dude, like I worked with him. He's a dog. He's an animal. But there was one hit he had last week on Hamilton Southeastern. I think they had that big number 1 receiver. He ran like a 10-yard in route or a dig or a skinny post. I forget what it was. But quarterback put it on a line. It was a great ball, great route. And he broke and came down and just absolutely stuck dude coming across the field. And I literally like hit one of these numbers where I was like, oh,
I see you.
I mean, I was very impressed. And watching him and seeing some of the plays he's made, special shout out to Valdez. Keep doing your thing, man.
Yeah, for sure. And Jorge, remember 2 weeks ago against Lafayette, Jeff made the diving interception on a skinny post that won the game. Yeah. So he's had a great season. We'll talk a little bit about Ethan's development and where he's at with things. What kind of advice have you given him this fall?
Yeah, Ethan reminds me a lot of Drue in the sense that whatever he chooses to apply himself to, he is very smart. He's very talented, and he's very hardworking. I think he's like rankings came out even for their classes, and out of like 600 or 700 kids, he's in like the top 10 in his class. So it's like
nice.
He's very smart. He's very gifted at whatever he does. Ethan's interesting right now because he's kind of got like a blend of interests. So he loves football. He loves his academics, but he also, what a lot of people don't know, is very gifted musically. So very gifted piano player. He writes his own music. So lyrically speaking, he can rap and he makes really good songs. So he's just got all these things that he's interested in, and I love seeing him pursue them. I try not to give him too much advice really when it comes to football, just because I want him ultimately to pursue what he loves. And I don't want him to feel like he has to pursue football or sports just because his older brothers, played sports or anything like that. So yeah, with Ethan, the conversations we've always had have revolved around, sorry, Jack keeps trying to call me. A lot of the conversations with Ethan have revolved around, pursuing what he does love. And, once he finds that thing that he loves, to just go all in on it. And I know with football, even he had the opportunity to get in last week's game, and I wasn't there at the game, but even just like seeing him get in there and perform and do well, I have no doubt he'll be great, whether it's football, whether it's music, and whatever he chooses to do. I just always tell him, like, dude, find what you love and just make that your thing.
Yeah, he had a really good game against Lafayette. Jeff, I think he ended up with 6 tackles in that game. But just real quick, going back to Braden Steely, I believe he's had talks with Western Michigan. But when you see him on the field, what kind of level do you think he can play at the next level?
Oh, he'll be just fine. I think one of the things I look for, or I would say if I was a scout per se and I was a recruiter, it's his tenacity he plays with, man. Like, you put the ball in that dude's hands, or even if you line him up at linebacker or wherever you want to put him on the field, I mean, every single play, he is just going at it, like trying to make a tackle. It's impossible just about to bring him down if you're just one guy trying to tackle him. So seeing that tenacity he plays with is something that's special. And the reason I put so much emphasis on it is because it's something that you really can't teach. You can teach a guy form, whether you're a DB, linebacker. You can teach a guy scheme. There's a lot of things that you can train and work on. But that tenacity that someone brings to the field and brings in every single down is something that's very, very difficult to teach. And he has it, and you can see it with how he plays. So I think whether it's Western or whatever school he ends up at, as long as he keeps his head on straight and keeps working hard like it looks like he's doing, I mean, he'll be just fine wherever he ends up. And I think he'll be an impact player wherever he ends up too.
Yeah, most definitely. In your opinion, can that tenacity rub off on other players? Because that whole defense is fiery and just runs around and causes havoc.
I mean, this is again what I'm talking about, where I get chills talking about it, because I've literally, I said to my wife, watching them even against Hamilton Southeastern, because they were supposed to be like a top 25 team in the country, and seeing the way Carroll handled them, I was like, they're manhandling them. They're making them look like a freshman team, or like it just doesn't even look comparable. So yeah, you can definitely, it's an energy. I think that's the best way to put it, is like the energy that Braden plays with and the rest of the team plays with. It's tangible even watching it as an alumni. So yeah, just seeing the way all of those guys play and seeing how the energy is rubbing off on each other and seeing how the whole team plays, every single down. I'm not kidding when I say I've never seen anything like it. It's really, really special to see what they're doing.
Okay, Justin, I'm going to put you on the spot. What was the best memory of playing with your brother at Carroll, and what was the funniest memory?
Oh, buddy. I don't know if there's a specific game. I actually do remember the Homestead games, Drue's senior year, my junior year, because we both had really just like solid games. Yeah, dude, you are putting me on the spot here. I have some funny memories. I don't know if they're appropriate for the podcast.
I bet you do. I bet you got some memories.
I know Casey's got one.
Justin.
No, I think Drue, I'll say this. There was one. This is kind of funny. It was more my freshman year. And I just remember, this is something that my mom can speak to, but Drue's always been very protective of me as a younger brother. And there was one time my freshman year where I was on the scout team at running back going against like our number one defense for varsity. And every time, like, Drue was obviously a linebacker, so anytime like he'd go to fit me up in the hole, it would just pretty much be like wrap me up. It wasn't like he was trying to cream me or anything like that. But I forget who it was. It might have been Ryan Cavender or Tyler Hands. It was one of our big defensive linemen at the time, where I pretty much got a sweep pass and I'm running out to the edge trying to create some separation. And one of the D linemen just catches up to me and just pretty much lays me out, like decleated me pretty much. And before I even had time to get up, Drue comes pretty much full speed and just levels whoever it was.
Wow.
I was like, I mean, at the time it stunned me a little bit, but after the fact, I was like, that was sick.
That's great, brother.
Yeah, it was Drue. It was always very protective. So you're putting me on the spot with the best memory. It's hard to say. I think the last thing that I actually remember was losing our regional game his senior year. And he was in good spirits after the game. I mean, he was already committed to Notre Dame, and I think he was excited, looking forward to that next chapter. But there was the realization on my end that, man, this is the last time I'm ever going to suit up with Drue at Carroll. Yeah, and I remember I remember breaking down on the field, with that realization, and him just hugging me and kind of passing off the torch, if you will, saying hey man, this next year is all you. It's a lot of high school memories are kind of a blur, but that's kind of the one that really sticks with me, just because it was kind of the goodbye for football together.
Sure.
For sure. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we have now with Justin Tranquill. Justin, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us tonight. This was a lot of fun. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. And even just testament to you guys, I think it's awesome what you guys are doing for the Fort Wayne community, for sports and everything. So cheers to you guys as well. It was good catching up.
Thanks, buddy. God bless.
Proud of you, brother.
Yep.
Thanks, Justin.
We'll see you guys.
Okay. That was great, guys. Wasn't that fun?
A lot of fun.
And I do have a funny story that I'll share later. I got to discern whether or not it's appropriate to talk about on the second half of the show, but I didn't want to put Justin on the spot. It's a great one.
Yeah.
Jeff, let us know when you shut us down. Are we shut down?
Yeah, we can take one more break and come back with the picks if you're ready.
Okay, sounds good. Stay tuned, everybody.
I was once a Southside kid who was led on a journey by high school football. A journey that taught me discipline, toughness, and the skills that made me a success. As a businessman with a CPA license who owns his own firm, I still use the building blocks of high school sports in my everyday life. Someday sports will end no matter what level you reach, but you will be left with the skills to compete in the next game, the game of life.
In 1952, my father, Jim Kelly, opened his first dealership. Thanks to loyal customers, dedicated employees, community support, and a bit of luck, his business grew. 70 years later, that dealership has become the Kelly Automotive Group, with 14 brands and 3 locations, including our new Fort Wayne Auto Mall. Thank you for 70 amazing years. It's been the ride of a lifetime. We hope you join us for the next 70.
Yo, what's going on? It's Antoine Taylor with Matrix QB. I'm so excited to announce our new book, The Quarterback Tool Shed. Strictly designed to help you slow the game down so that you can speed up. Whether you're a parent, a coach, or a player, it's jam-packed with information. We're going to help you slow the game down by giving you a mental processor so that you can speed up. This resource has all the things you need, from reading the defense, passing mechanics, pre-snap filters, coverage ID, and much, much more. I'm so excited, and I can't wait to see you on the inside.
Welcome back, everybody. Casey had to take off his Drue Tranquill jersey. Man, Casey, that's a sharp jersey.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, you got to love it.
Woo, look at that sign.
Now he's playing in Los Angeles in that brand new state-of-the-art stadium with arguably, one of the hottest young quarterbacks in Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, and he's had a really good season this year.
Yeah, they've lost a couple heartbreakers lately. I always like to tune in and check out our 260 guys for sure and root for those teams and those players. And they lost another heartbreaker the other night. And I thought, as I was trying to coordinate these interviews with their dad, Tony, who was a friend of mine, I kept thinking, ooh, Drue might not be up for talking about this after that one. But he was so gracious, as was little brother Justin. Those were 2 really, really good interviews.
And I love when we were talking about some of the adversity, you bring up the faith, and that's something that is huge with those guys. I know that you know a lot about that, but their faith in God has really helped propel them to great heights. And he said it perfectly. When you have that faith in God, you just know that he's going to deliver. Like, you work hard, and outcomes are going to happen.
Yeah, and just the whole notion of being in the moment and knowing where they're supposed to be at all times. Like, Justin really spoke to that decision to go to Western Michigan and how he had those dreams of playing Notre Dame, Ohio State, Michigan, and had all those schools looking at him, but the fit was at Western Michigan, and I just thought intertwining their faith lives with their professional lives and their personal lives and their family lives, it comes from their parents. I mean, and the Tranquill family is a great family, and thank goodness they moved to Northeast Indiana. Certainly helped at least one pal coach. Can I tell you?
So.
I know you guys are going to think that I ran the score up on people, and I did not. But the JV Pal Chargers back in the day, that Justin played on with my son Dalton and Mikey Snyder, and oh my gosh, we had Noah Frymuth. We had a ton of really good football players on that team. So I was a great recruiter. And we outscored our opponents that year 237-6.
Oh my gosh, you were dominant.
Yeah, and you know who we beat in the championship game was Dave Skoronik's team with Ben. Beat them 20-0. Yeah, and they were the Lions.
They were the Lions.
Which was
the Lions.
feeder for Homestead, right?
Yep.
And
Exactly.
Great memories, and so proud of those guys. What a great interview. What were your thoughts, guys? Because you don't know them quite like I do, but you can tell they're quality kids.
Yeah, I thought it was cool the pride they had in Carroll.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just watching the games, keeping up with the teams, knowing the story with what's going on with Owen. I just thought it was awesome to see the alumni, the pride, like, hey, that's my school, and tuning into the games and supporting the kids. I thought that was awesome.
For sure. How about you, Jake?
Yeah, just definitely grounded guys. It's super cool. You know, I told Xander, I was like, dude, there's going to be this NFL guy on the show later. And he's like, who is it? I was like, it's Tranquill. He's like, I was him on Madden, dude. I was like, I know.
How cool is that?
So, yeah, he's going to be pumped. But, yeah, no, I mean, my half-brother's half-brother, Jake Rogers, that I talk about that kicked in the NFL for a short stint, you know, he played all over the league, and he's still, I think, either the all-time or second highest leading scorer in Cincinnati Bearcat history as a field goal kicker. And Drue reminds me of him. I mean, they look alike, they talk alike, and you can tell just like it's a different level of professionalism that somebody plays in the league that, like, you know, just a regular person like me, just you don't really understand it. It's like it's a whole different level, and I think they really answer the question well of like the differences, the level of competition, and everything that you see there. It's just, I mean, it's the best in the world. So.
For sure.
Yeah, and throughout all this, throughout both the interviews, you constantly hear them referencing a special season for Owen.
Yes.
And then going over to Carroll Stadium, they have one of the trees dressed up in all orange. So they got Christmas lights out there, but one of them's the Owen tree, and you really feel it out there. You know, Joe, I keep going back to that game that we had when he was a junior and he got the start for Becker against Snyder, and it was something special. And the way these guys are playing this year is special as well.
Yeah, and again, to go back to that game, to find out you're starting against Snyder, you know, I don't know if it was even the day before, Jeff, if I recall.
It was like a Thursday.
Maybe it was the day up. He didn't even
night.
get the snaps.
Right.
And I can remember we were preparing for the game, and we were so stunned when we found out before the broadcast that Becker wasn't playing. I remember I thought to myself, oh, my gosh, poor Owen. This is just an impossible task. And they came in 0-1. They had just had that just brutal loss opening the new stadium to Lewis for Carson Clark. And I thought, oh, my gosh, of all the time not to have Becker. And I knew Owen was good, but I thought I couldn't have just walked in and started a game of that magnitude. And he was just magnificent. And it saved their season last year. They ended up, you know, getting a share of the conference title in the Bell. And you could just see after the game I interviewed him, he was such a beautiful kid. But what I also saw too was how much his teammates loved him and appreciated him. And he did. He saved their season last year. And it felt like after that, it just kind of felt like, because Jeff had kind of talked about over the last 2 or 3 years, he said, Joe, you got to watch Carroll. Carroll's getting physical. Carroll's becoming a different type of program. And it's funny because we always tease each other about our picks this year. Jake's kind of beating us down, but Jeff was right about Carroll. And that's kind of what it came about. But I felt like when you go back through Carroll the last 2 to 3 years, that game with Owen and the way they were able to defeat Snyder that night, that felt like a pivot point in their program where it was like, yeah, we're here. We can deal with adversity and we can continue on. And Owen was marvelous that night. And then to fast forward to lose Owen like that and to see how beautiful it is, how hard they play for Owen and how much he meant to them.
You're so
and,
right.
and it's just such a tough situation, but it's the most beautiful way that they have to honor him, and they've done it.
Yes.
And they've overcome it. And just when you look at the whole team, what a senior class. He talked about Valdez. Maybe the biggest interception possibly in 2-6-0 history to make that interception in the regional game against Lafayette Jeff. And something else that's lost that I was talking to Johnny Zolnick, Coach Z, about, and he made a great point with this. how big has that three-man front been for Carroll this year, Casey? I mean, it is so difficult to play a three-man front in high school football.
But if you have disruptive ends, which
my
they
gosh.
do.
I mean, we've talked so much about Bubba. He's been so fantastic at quarterback. I think Steely's Power 5.
Oh, yeah.
We were talking before we had a chance to interview Drue. I think Steely would look fantastic in a Michigan State uniform. I think Abs, the young tackle, man, is he coming on.
For
He
sure.
is absolutely becoming dominant. But all of that said, I've got to go back to that front three. Because when you watched Jeff and those guys broadcast the game on Friday night, I consistently found myself, my eyes on the defensive line and pounding my chest, screaming from my house, my poor dogs. I see you on that defensive line. And I just think it would remind me a little bit of East Side last year because all the guys are deployed in the right positions on defense. Everybody's where they're supposed to be. They're beautifully coached.
No missed assignments.
No missed assignments. But you know what? I pound my chest when I watch that Carroll defensive line play.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And Pisetsky was awesome on Friday again.
Yes.
And going back to Owen, Joe's exactly right because in that start, we were all kind of nervous for Carroll.
Yeah.
Like
big time.
here's Snyder. They come off a huge opening week win. Everybody's picking them to win the SAC. Just studs everywhere. And Owen was so cool in that game, was not flustered at all, made all the right reads and passes, was just great.
Yeah.
And then going back to last game, I think you're going to like this one, but Cam Lentz, if I had to pick a player of the game on defense, he showed up big time at middle linebacker.
Looking pretty good.
And played amazing. Yeah, they're young. They're going to be really good next year.
I've said it all year long, and now it's come to fruition. This team's a year ahead of schedule. I've been telling people for a while, again, having coached at St. Charles against that Maple Creek juggernaut, I said, when these kids, this sophomore and junior class, are junior and seniors, they will compete for a 6A state title. I remember people used to look at me like I was crazy. Oh, come on, Carroll. I'm like, trust me. I know what my eyeballs are telling me. These are two special classes back to back. You throw in Jimmy, you throw in Royce Jones, you throw in Jaden Hill, just enough there, and then all the chemistry and everybody buying in from day one. And you were so right, Joe, and you are too, Jeff. The trajectory started week 2 last year where Owen Sheely stepped up in an impossible situation.
Yes.
And he's a backup quarterback. I was a backup quarterback. That's an impossible situation where you're playing a juggernaut like Snyder High School. Like you said, they'd already started 0-1.
Yes.
And he had the game of his life. And what a tribute to him and his family. And then we'll get into this week's game. But, make sure – I get goosebumps.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure you guys do too. It makes it melts my heart just thinking about the love that they had for that kid and he had for them. It was a two-way street.
And Casey, up to that point, Jeffrey Becker had been like the golden child of quarterback in the 2-6-0
for at least a decade. Yep.
Carroll's history.
Yep. Yeah, certainly.
And what was interesting
and you
too.
have to replace him.
Yes.
And what was interesting was, I say, I'm so proud of you. And if I was that age, I probably would have taken the moment to beat my chest and said, yeah, you know what? I knew I could do this. This was my first varsity start. I know Jeff Becker is the quarterback one. Everybody knows how good Becker is. But tonight, I showed how good I was. He didn't handle it like that. What he did was he looked at me with those beautiful eyes and he talked about how thankful he was to play, how well the offensive line played, how well the wide receiver played that night. And he totally deflected the credit to his teammates. And his teammates stood there as we did the interview and just, when it was over, cheered him on and embraced him. And I remember after I interviewed him, it was such a beautiful moment. I kind of stumbled up back to the press box at Spolar, you and you looked at me and you said, I told you, Joe, Carroll has arrived and they have a program. And it's just something that stuck with me. And to me, that was a pivot point. And man, have they arrived. And then when you fast forward this year to Bubba, we had the 92 Snyder state championship team on. Mm-hmm. And I felt like when I played, Jeff, and you guys probably know guys too, I felt like Courtney Davis was probably the mentally toughest kid that I played against or ever saw play in high school football. I just felt like he was so mentally tough. And then he went on, as you always say, Jeff, with Bowling Green, and never fumbled the ball. I mean, he was
2 records.
Yes, 2 records. He was so incredibly mentally tough, even to where when we used to play in middle school, I feel like that about Bubba. When I look at Jimmy Sullivan, obviously he is a tremendous talent. Could possibly be maybe the best quarterback that ever comes out of the 260. Has all the skill sets. I love it because he never gets sped up. But I'm telling you, man, if you looked at me and you said, Joe, what is the one trait that blows you away with him? It's the mental toughness. And I feel like that has carried over to Carroll's team. And when you watch the tape with Carroll, I challenge you to watch any tape of any team in Indiana or the Midwest that plays harder for each other.
And I'll tell you, when I said it, I kind of caught myself at the beginning of the show, and then to hear Justin kind of reiterate it, I know the score was 21-15. But you just felt like Carroll kind of dominated.
They had it under control, Jeff. I was watching you guys' broadcast.
We're the more physical team, no doubt about
it. Definitely. They set the tone. I liked how Carroll came out. I think Andy's done a fantastic job with the offense. I think, all of a sudden we saw Jaden Hill last week become a major factor. Casey, you were kind of calling for that, asking for that. But it just felt like Carroll, it felt like the weather didn't bother Carroll. It felt like we're here. We're ready to go. We're going to attack you early. And I just felt like Carroll dominated and had the game under control. At any point in that game, I didn't feel like Carroll was going to lose that game. I felt like Carroll had it under control. And I think that'll probably be the key, going this week with Center Grove, is having another fast start. Because, again, going back to when we talked to the guys from the 92 Snyder State Championship game, that state championship game, they were off to a fast start early on. And they felt like that set the tone. And I think that's going to be key for Carroll to do that again.
But, Joe, this team has proven that they can win a variety of ways.
Yes.
Right? They can win in blowouts. They can win close games. They can come from behind. They can hold on to leads. They can hang on.
Yes.
The last 2 weeks showed me a lot. Winning down at Lafayette Jeff, where they were down 2 TDs. Down 2 TDs, and having to rise up in the second half and make all those plays, the 2 goal line stands, the interception, the passing play, out of their own end zone. And then last week, of course, dictating the game from the opening kick all the way through, being the more physical team. The one little crack last week was when HAC scored that touchdown on the last play of the first half. I thought, please tell me that's not going to be the play. Because if you don't win a championship or you don't make it to a state finals, invariably, if you're a good team, there's one of those plays that stands out.
Back,
and I couldn't help but think, that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about this matchup this week, guys, in Class 6A. Again, kudos to Coach Dinan and the Chargers for getting down to the 6A state title. Say what you will about maybe 6A not having that dominant team. Well, guess what? Maybe Carroll's that dominant team.
Exactly.
And it's been such an amazing run. This Center Grove team in recent years has kind of been in that pantheon of great teams. If you throw in Warren Central and Carmel, and of course Ben Davis from the Indianapolis area, even Westfield to a certain degree. Center Grove has kind of been that big bully here lately, but they're not as dominant as they've been in recent years. They're 11-2 this year, guys, with a loss against Louisville Trinity, one of the top programs in the Midwest, 29-28 in double overtime. And then they lost to Cathedral right before the sectional. And you can't help but wonder if Coach Eric Moore saved a few treats for Santa, right? Because they came back, they lost that game 49-20, and then they smacked Cathedral last week 33-10. What a turnaround.
Big time turnaround.
So this is a great team. I know you've got some thoughts on this, Jake.
The thing with Center Grove is the one team that, and I don't watch a ton of 6A ball, it's one of the only 6A teams I really know anything about. And So they are a powerhouse. So this is like the team in Indiana where this will be their the first year in 4 years that they haven't been in the Max Preps top 10 in the nation.
Wow.
Jeez.
So last season, I was always going, oh, they're going to make the top 5. They were number 6 the last 2 seasons. That's against teams like Mater Dei, St. John Bosco, Austin Westlake, South Lake Carroll. I mean, the best teams from Florida, Texas, California, Georgia, Las Vegas, you name it. So even though they have 2 losses this year, like you said, Louisville Trinity is a top 25 nationally ranked program most years.
Yes.
So, you got to take that one with a grain of salt. The Cathedral loss, I don't really know what to say about that. But I'm the one that keeps doubting Carroll trying to be, the anti-hero against you guys all season. It's like, oh, they can't do it. But Hamilton Southeastern, I've been high on all year, and I agree. Like, to watch that game, like, dang, man, they got some bullies out there. Obviously, we love Steely, but the boys are hitting hard.
Anderson.
This is, if there's ever a year for them to do it, you get, Center Grove on what you consider for them a down year. I think Carroll's got a chance.
No doubt.
Boy, 4 consecutive state title appearances, back-to-back state championships. Wow. I mean, you're right, Casey. Center Grove has pretty much just taken over the 6A reigns. In the last 2 years, they beat Westfield. So what Westfield's been able to do, too, you remember all those battles they used to have with Snyder in 5A.
Yes.
And that's just elevated them up to 6A, and the Shamrocks have been able to deliver. But, yeah, you're right, a 40-29 victory. A lot of people, I think, were shocked that they were able to play at Cathedral, at their place, which I believe they played at Arsenal Tech, if I remember correctly.
I heard something different last week. I don't think it was Arsenal Tech, but I could be wrong. Again, they don't have a home stadium.
What was interesting was I was sitting at home that night, and Cathedral was up 10-0.
Yes.
And I kind of checked in on the game, and Cathedral, at that early on, felt like Cathedral had that game under control.
They might run away.
And it was just like Center Grove flipped a switch, and the beatdown ensued. And it was stunning to watch and a stunning result to see, knowing what happened the first game. When Cathedral got up 10-0, I thought, well, here we go. Cathedral's got this under control, But then, wow, Center Grove, just the pride, the experience sucked it up.
Well, to that point, I'm going to ask you, Joe and Jeff and Jake. They've got all that experience. They've had a bunch of kids that have been down. This isn't new to them. For Carroll, this is very new, right? They've never been in a state finals. They've never played down at Lucas Oil in this environment.
First ever regional this year.
Exactly. What does that look like, in terms of, controlling your emotions, not being, letting the moment get too big? Because if you fall behind early, especially against a juggernaut like Center Grove, where they can run the ball and take some momentum, that's when maybe mistakes can happen. That's got to be a huge advantage, I would think, for the Trojans of Center Grove.
I would typically say in a situation like this, it's a huge advantage for Center Grove, but not in this situation. You know why?
Why?
The belief and the love of Owen.
Mm-hmm.
It's magical. You cannot you cannot measure the intangible of confidence and the belief, and no matter what, we will overcome.
Right.
And I think that's been the story all year. And they've, we had them against North, and I felt like in that game, they really developed their offensive line and began the ability to run the ball. We saw the up-tempo. Jake always talks about on offense, they're multiple in so many different ways. They can attack you in so many different ways. But I think when they walk out with that jersey before that game, it is just magical how hard they're going to play, how much they believe in each other. And you talk about the biggest hurdle at the end is Center Grove, all that confidence, but it just feels,
Disney couldn't have written this.
That's
right?
How it feels. It feels, and I think that at some point, when you play and you believe that much in your school, your community, what Owen stood for, one another. It's so powerful, Jake. And I think that typically, Casey, I would agree with you. I would say, oh, man, Center Grove has this huge advantage because they've been there.
Experience, right?
Experience.
But there's an intangible there that you can't put a price, you can't put a premium on.
Exactly.
You cannot quantify it.
Exactly.
I think you're spot on, Jake. What are your thoughts on that dynamic?
Yeah, and you think about the movie Hoosiers, and coach goes out and takes the tape measure and measures up the length of the rim, and it's like just because you're playing in this bigger facility,
still 100 yards.
It's still 100 yards, and thinking about this to 6A schools, I was talking to a buddy at work. He played football at Van Wert, and Van Wert is just absolute juggernaut in Ohio football. Just made it all the way to their regionals and got beat, and now they've gotten a $3 million expansion going on their stadium to get an elevator. And he's like, man, people around here don't have elevators at their stadium. I said, Carroll does.
It's fantastic.
So
I used it.
Yeah, so it's like, look, man, the Lucas Oil Stadium is not intimidating to the Carroll Chargers. They're going to embrace it more of like this is a cool experience that the Colts are allowing them to be there. It's not like, oh my gosh, they're used to playing in front of thousands of fans every night. The community's behind them. And I think Joe said it best, man. Like, it's just such a different year for them. They're playing for a different reason. Hamilton Southeastern, whoever betting men were, I was one of them. Well, not monetarily, but anybody that put money down for Hamilton Southeastern, we all lost. You know what I mean? And Hamilton Southeastern is supposed to be stronger this year than Center Grove.
And they got worked.
So I think Carroll's got just a fine chance.
Yep. Joe, one more thought as we button this one up?
Yep. I was just going to ask you guys, if you remember when we had the Snyder 92 state championship team, remember, Jeff, when Jabbar said they ran 40 gassers? Mm-hmm. I thought that was very interesting. Do you guys
during their time, their practice at the Hoosier Dome or RCA Dome, right?
They had to get used to the heat and that kind of humidity inside.
I think that was interesting, and that really kind of took that away from that interview. Thinking, wow, I wonder if that's something that Carroll did this week because you just played in what.
20-degree weather.
20-degree weather and snow. Now you're down there. How do you adjust? Is that something that the coaching staff, maybe the kids did? But it'll be interesting to hear, after the state championship game's over, some of the preparation. But I tell you what, I feel really good about Carroll. I thought the game on Friday night against Hamilton Southeastern, I thought Carroll was dominant in the trenches, and I think that's going to bode well.
Yeah, and that was probably the most surprising thing is, how they weren't getting manhandled in the trenches because Hamilton Southeastern came in big. They got an offensive lineman, a junior that's being offered by all the Division I schools. Donovan Hamilton, the wide receiver that Justin was talking about, that kid's 6'4", could jump out of the gym. And those DBs just kept sticking with them, It could have been a little demoralizing there, Casey, like you referenced. 0 on the clock heading into halftime. This kid just jumps up and just high points the ball.
Yeah, made a great play.
Really nothing you can do. But then I believe it was in the third or fourth quarter where Valdez was able to break a couple of those up that were intended for Hamilton. So, yeah, and it all goes back to it, and I think that's what Drue and Justin were alluding to in their interviews was just this is a special team, a special season. They are laser focused because of honoring number 13.
Yeah, and Jeff, one last question on this game as we wrap up. How big was it, and Jake always preaches this, and Jake knows better than anybody, how big was it how well Carroll's special teams played?
Carroll, that's exactly right, Joe, because number one, their punt coverage and kickoff coverage was second to none in that game. You'll remember, I believe it was, I don't know if it was Severs but one of the kids had a halo infraction on, I think, the very first punt. But, man, they had 5 guys down there surrounding
wrapped
the
around
returner
him.
before they even caught the ball.
Yeah.
And then that blocked punt by Derrickman
was
huge.
huge.
Another huge play because I think it was a play later, Steely took it to the house.
Yeah, that was huge. That was
helps
huge.
set the tone as well, in addition to the physicality, that play there.
And the extra points.
Right.
And that weather.
Right. So to your point, though, that really stood out to me on punt team and kickoff team. These guys are flying down the field, and for whatever reason, the guys blocking the gunners, I mean, they just couldn't get a hat on them. So it's that just relentless drive.
Yeah.
It's that tenacity that Justin was talking about, and I can't remember who I was talking to, but they said, tough players can help mold tough players. When you have a bunch of softies on your team, you got that one tough guy.
Gets them going.
When you get popped in the mouth a couple of times, next thing you know, you learn how to kind of give it back.
Respond to that. Yep.
So, and we talk about speed, right? If you don't practice against speed, when you see it in a game situation, it takes you a while to adjust. Kind of the same thing there, and I do believe that Steely has brought a lot of that tenacity to that team. You saw it last year, Joe. Remember last year in that Snyder game when Steely actually ran over Tyrese Brown.
Yes. Yes.
Now, don't get me wrong, he was playing DB, but Tyrese Brown was on a run, and he stuck him.
Yes.
And this is Tyrese Brown, who arguably – he was probably top 5, right, in the 260 player of the year.
And maybe the most physical ball carrier.
Fantastic back.
Yeah.
Big guy.
Tearing it up at trying, too.
And Steely, as a sophomore, came up in the open field.
Stuck him.
We always talk about open field tackling.
Oh, yeah.
And laid a clean lick on him.
Yep. Guys, before we move on to Adams Central, I'm not asking for your picks yet because we'll talk about that at the end of the show. Let's go around the room real quick. One thing Carroll has to do to win this game. What's your one thing? And it can be something as simple as
can't get behind early.
So a strong start is your key to victory.
Start.
Okay, Joe, how about you?
Defensive line must hold the point of attack, be active, and dominate. I think if the defensive line plays the way they played against Hamilton Southeastern, Carroll will win the state championship.
Jeff?
Take care of the ball. If they get ahead early, I think they saw what they can do when they hand the rock to Braden Steely. Man, the kid is just relentless, can't really be stopped. And then you have to load the box. I mean, this game is suited well for Carroll because they have got weapons all over the place when you look at their wide receiving core.
And that was kind of my point. I was going to say the same thing, Jeff. Use all your weapons.
Yes.
On offense. Make sure they all get touches. Obviously, turnovers. We talked about every coach will say that usually the team that wins the turnover battle wins the game. So let's assume that's a push, 0-0, 1-1, 2-2, whatever. Utilize all your weapons. Leave it all out on the field, gentlemen.
Yeah, and that's why, Casey, last week, it was cold and it was really windy and there were snow flurries all over the place. For them to open up that game,
yes,
and it was a beautiful pass where Sullivan was throwing to an open space on the field, Joe.
Yes,
and Hill just went and got
Hill reacted to it. And that is just a beautiful thing, kind of that camaraderie between a quarterback and a receiver.
Yep.
Because it wasn't a timing pattern, and the route had kind of broken off. He threw it into an open space. Hill got it and nearly took it to the house, like 70 yards.
And I got to point out again, we talked about Owen and the special feeling connection that they have to their fallen teammate. Those two gentlemen both transferred into Carroll. Jaden Hill was very close with Owen Shealy. They were like best buddies. Yeah. And you know who else was pretty close to him? Was Jimmy Sullivan.
I know he was.
I mean,
and that's why
think about that play, because you take away that play, I think Carroll only had 105 yards of offense.
Yeah.
Think of that.
Yeah. And Jaden Hill just made a tremendous play to as Jeff said, because Jimmy had to throw it to the place he did.
Yep.
There was no other place to stick it, and for Jaden Hill to make that play, you're absolutely right, and that's what feels so special about this.
And it's basically told Hamilton Southeastern, guess what? We'll do about anything to beat you guys tonight, including throw the ball downfield in this snow globe.
And what it does and exactly, it was a snow globe, and what it did was it made Hamilton Southeastern safeties back up a little bit.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, then you can come back and run your big power back Steely.
Great play call there by Andy Papagiannis, one of our favorites, and certainly the defensive coordinator Joe Rudolph has done a wonderful job.
He's been fantastic.
Joe's been a great coach for a long time, and you got great players, great things happen, but you got to coach them up as well.
Scheme's been awesome.
Guys, let's get into Class 1A. This game will be played on Saturday morning at 11 a.m. I do have a photographer or two going down to shoot some pictures of both these games. Jake, you mind? I'm going to come to you. What are your thoughts about the Flying Jets against Indy Lutheran, who, of course, beat them last year in heartbreaking fashion? The Jets want to avenge. You get a little revenge against the Saints.
Yeah, it's cool when everything happens the way that everybody wants it to, including the media. You have two teams that they wanted a rematch. They're both 14-0, so somebody's ending their perfect season Saturday morning at 11. But, man, AC hasn't had a test really. Well, maybe East Side is maybe their only test they had this year.
Week 2.
I mean, they've just murked everybody that they've seen. And the same
Did
way.
you say murked?
That means murdered. That's a thug word for murdered.
It's kind of merged a couple words?
Yeah, so.
Little county slang, baby.
So there hasn't been a whole lot. Yeah, when you're in those combines, man, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Tell them, Jake.
The clean version.
Yeah, so both teams really haven't had a true test yet. But Indy Lutheran, man, you got Joe Davis, a running back with 29 touchdowns on the season, and then you've got Micah McKay, a wide receiver with over 1,400 yards.
Big time.
So then you go back to AC, and obviously you got Keegan Bloom and Ryan Black. So playmakers offensively and defensively on both sides of the ball. It always amazes me. Like I'm not well versed in like how these teams continue to be 1A. It's like how do you keep winning every season and having 13, 14 win season and you're still single A? I don't know. But
they'll be in 2A soon enough. Both of them will.
This to me, on the docket of games that I would want to see, I would put number 3 out of the 6. That's how impressive it is to me that even being 1A schools, how this game's going to be, I think.
Well, and I think Indy Lutheran wants to throw it around certainly a little bit more than Adams Central. Adams Central, Ryan Black can throw it. It's that ability to do it. Will we see that early in the game, Joe, just loosen up that Indy Lutheran defense because they want to pound it. And he had a great game last week, did Ryan Black, the senior quarterback. I think 4 or 5 touchdowns, right? 160 yards rushing, and he just runs their attack so beautifully. You got Keegan Bloom, you got Trevor Curry. I mean, they've got some nice parts there. The Cook kid, Tester. They are right now a team that had this circled for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't want to play anybody else, make no mistake, than Indy Lutheran. And I think this is going to be a great game. It's a tough challenge for AC, make no mistake, because this is a formidable opponent. This is a really, really elite program down there in Indy. And that coaching staff is phenomenal. But we had Coach Minnick on last week, and how great was that to see him and spend some time with him and hear some of those stories. And then Coach Mosier, again, cut from the same mold. He's a great coach, a gentleman. Don't let his kind-hearted ways fool you. He's a competitor.
Oh yeah.
And they're going to go down there and they're going to try to punch him in the mouth. And I don't know. I think this is going to be a fantastic matchup. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, last year's game, 34-28 with Indy Lutheran winning it. 29 consecutive victories for that 1A school. And then they bring in the number 1 ranked quarterback in the state as far as passing yards are concerned, and Jackson Willis, 3,890. Casey, the next closest guy is Cooper Simmons Little at 3,227. So 51 touchdowns, 6 interceptions.
That's a dream season.
Joe, that's a career.
I know. And you know what? But you know what the difference is going to be this year versus last year? Last year in the state championship game, Adams Central never got any pressure on the quarterback. That was the key to it. So the kid stood in a clean pocket and was able to make the throws, and Indy Lutheran slipped by Adams Central. It was that close. I feel like this game has been building for years because I went down 4 or 5 years ago, and I did the Adams Central Pioneer semi-state game. Pioneer was the roadblock then for Adams Central. I think Pioneer won 2 or 3 state championships. They had Jack Kaiser, who plays for your ACC champs, Notre Dame, Jack Kaiser.
Yeah.
So, but that was kind of a roadblock for AC. Then here comes Lutheran. I just feel like AC has build, and I think they're going to get it done this year. And I think the difference this year is Ryan Black. I think Ryan Black is just fantastic.
I think he's legit finalist for Player of the Year for game night.
He is a kid who's seen so much understands their offense so well. I think they can trust him to throw the ball a little bit on first down in that game, where I think last year they wanted to stay a little bit more strict to the script with what they have. I think they can do a little bit more with Ryan Black, and this is a perfect game where you step back, Jake, which you always talk about too, is risk versus reward. Do you take some risk on defense, as Johnny Z always does, and bring some heat and tune them up a little bit?
Yeah, speed them up.
That's what I think is the key. I think if I'm AC, I look at last year and I say, you know what? We never sped the quarterback up. We never brought the heat. We need to dig into a defensive playbook, Jake, and look for maybe some exotic blitzes and see if we can not only speed Lutheran up, maybe we can cause a turnover or two, and maybe that'll be the difference.
Yeah, I'm thinking some heat backside off the edge quick.
Absolutely.
Some delayed response blitzing, things of that nature. I tell you, though, like talking to more of the Adams Central folks, this seems like the type of coaching staff that's probably been watching that state final game for the last, 52 weeks, just salivating for this moment. So they're going to have some tricks up their sleeve, and I think they're ready. But I'll tell you what, if we had any favors to call into Jim Irsay down there, we ought to get some artificial snow and some wind up in there, because we'll take this pass
Turn the
away.
sprinklers on.
Turn the sprinklers. You got to be able to run the ball in the county, and that dome's taking some of the edge off our AC
That's
boys.
exactly
so let's
right.
get that snow going. You know what I'm saying?
That's exactly right.
Jeff, couple thoughts from you on this one.
Yeah, you're right. They do need a roof that opens up there, Jake.
Open the roof.
Yeah, I mean, Casey, it boils down to if you get behind early and you got to play catch up, that's what's going to be a big struggle. I mean, Ryan Black didn't even have a pass attempt last week, and you're right. He had 4 touchdowns rushing, averaging 11.1 yards per carry. So I got to believe that Lutheran's going to make Adams Central throw the ball by loading the box.
Exactly.
Now, can they stop it? No one else has, but 29 straight victories?
Yeah, no, this is a formidable opponent. Make no mistake.
Holy moly.
Well, both teams, Carroll and AC, are playing, the king of the hill.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you're going to win a state championship, you want to beat the best, right?
That's
If you're
right.
going to do this, let's do it right. And think of this, guys. How cool would this be? If they both win, do you know they'll both be the only 2 unbeaten teams in the entire state? Carroll and Adams Central.
Wow.
How cool would that be?
And how cool is that for the 2-6-0, baby?
It's awesome.
How much pride do we have in the 2-6-0, baby? And God bless Adams Central. Adams Central has climbed that mountain every single year. They've gotten knocked down at the end. And you know what? They get back up and climb that mountain.
Yep.
And I'm just hoping that this is the year, and I think it can be, that they stand at the top of the mountain. But, yeah, pride, so much pride with the 2-6-0.
Both of them, both those programs, again, talking to Coach Minnick last week, he said this talent is there in the younger ranks coming up the pike.
Yeah.
Same with Carroll. These programs are in really good shape right now.
Well,
They're
the
in a good
sophomore
spot.
class.
Well,
Tim Atkinson always talks about Tim Atkinson when we go out and have some chicken wings after games, doesn't he, Jake and Jeff? Tim Atkinson, the great Tim Atkinson, always talks about the sophomore class in this area.
No doubt about it. And, I thought Carroll, this would be a conversation we'd be having a year from now. And they proved me wrong. And what a memorable season. Win or lose, guys, we're proud of these teams. It's been a special year.
Absolutely, man.
Hats off to both those programs.
Absolutely.
We're pulling for you guys. So we'll take a quick break here, and when we come back, we'll recap last week's picks. They weren't that good for these gentlemen. And we'll see where everybody's at, and then we'll have this week's predictions from the Sideline Swami, so stay tuned.
I was once a Southside kid who was led on a journey by high school football. A journey that taught me discipline, toughness, and the skills that made me a success. As a businessman with a CPA license who owns his own firm, I still use the building blocks of high school sports in my everyday life. Someday sports will end no matter what level you reach, but you will be left with the skills to compete in the next game, the game of life.
In 1952, my father, Jim Kelly, opened his first dealership. Thanks to loyal customers, dedicated employees, community support, and a bit of luck, his business grew. 70 years later, that dealership has become the Kelly Automotive Group, with 14 brands and 3 locations, including our new Fort Wayne Auto Mall. Thank you for 70 amazing years. It's been the ride of a lifetime. We hope you join us for the next 70.
Yo, what's going on? It's Antoine Taylor with Matrix QB. I'm so excited to announce our new book, The Quarterback Tool Shed. Strictly designed to help you slow the game down so that you can speed up. Whether you're a parent, a coach, or a player, it's jam-packed with information. We're going to help you slow the game down by giving you a mental processor so that you can speed up. This resource has all the things you need, from reading the defense, passing mechanics, pre-snap filters, coverage ID, and much, much more. I'm so excited, and I can't wait to see you on the inside.
And welcome back, everybody, to Around the Fort. We are at the end of our season, guys, and we can't take this any further than state championship weekend. Thank you to all of our viewers. We've had great numbers this year. We're just going to keep trying to grow this platform and keep promoting the 260 because the football here is great. And as we've seen all year long, and especially here through the playoffs, we've got some really talented players and teams and coaches, and we thank you for tuning in. Let's recap last week, shall we? It looked like one Joe Walburn was 5-7. Not too shabby. I mean, I've seen worse. Jeff was 5-7.
Oh,
I
boy,
think
Jeff.
I copied Joe's picks.
I think you did.
Well, you had Carroll.
You
You've picked Carroll the last couple of years. So that's a great pick.
yeah, and then Jake the Snake, 3-9.
Oh, Jake, what's
Very
up, man?
unsnake-like.
I just wanted to make it interesting at the end. You know what I mean?
He's slithering right into the pole position still. So right now, Jake leads 108 and 102. So still above 500, pretty darn good. Joe, you're in second place, 99 and 111. Ever since you went against the Fremont, I don't know why you did that.
Should have stayed in the casino.
Yeah,
I was
you
hot.
You won $4,000, I believe. Was it 4,000?
Yeah, I
once.
I once went to the Fremont Casino in downtown Las Vegas, and I won $4,000 playing three-card poker.
Why would you ever bail on the Fremont? But at any rate, you can still get back in this thing, and Jeff has really turned things around. If we had another couple weeks of playoffs.
Jeff has been killing it in the playoffs.
It's been the playoffs,
yes,
man.
the playoffs.
Yeah,
Jeff.
ever since John Glenn bowed out, I've been able to catch up on Jake.
Well,
a
you
little
didn't have
bit.
to worry about worms and soil and all that other stuff. You've been able to focus on football. But 89 and 121, so he's definitely cut into it.
It's a winner, man. I missed that good soil.
And he
No
had
doubt.
Carroll. Yeah.
Well, guys, we're going to do all 6 games, and this week the Swami, who is a degenerate gambler in his own right, has over-unders, so this will be fun.
Oh.
So there's 6 games, and then over and under. We're going to start with Jake the Snake on each because he's leading. And we'll start in Class 1. We start in Class 1A and work our way up.
All right.
Adams Central versus Indy Lutheran. We just talked about this game. What a great matchup. Swami says Adams Central by 1, and the over-under is 63. What do you like here?
You may take the paper there from you, buddy.
Yep, please.
I'm going to go with AC and the under.
Going under AC. Okay, Joe.
I'm going to take Adams Central. I think Ryan Black's going to quarterback them to the state championship, and I'm going to take the over 63.
Okay. How about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I like the over as well. And I think Indy Lutheran's going to take this one.
Okay. I think it's a daunting task, but Adams Central feels to me a little bit like a team of destiny. A lot of underclassmen, but that senior leader, Ryan Black, at quarterback, I believe is the difference.
This is
Class 2A, Andrean, 10-3. Wow, Drake Bowen, 358 last week.
Wow.
Rushing against Lures. That's got to be the most yards ever given up by a Lures defense. I'm guessing.
I think he had 250 at the half.
Unbelievable.
I was watching
the Notre Dame
online.
recruit is
Yeah.
a monster. If he can do that against Lures, what's he going to do against the Mother of God, Evansville Mater Dei? So, Jake, coming to you. Swami says Andrean by 4, and the over-under is 52.
Drake Bowen, Pat Clacks III, too tough. Andrean in the over.
And the over. How about you, Joe?
I like Andrean to win the state championship and to cover that line, and I'll take the under.
Going under. Defensive struggle a little bit. How about you, Jeff?
Well, first off, Evansville Mater Dei is the Wildcats. I didn't know they were the Mothers of God.
Well, Mater Dei, the Mother of God. Oh. Well, they're not mothers like plural mothers. There's just one Mother of God, the Blessed Mother.
Okay.
Come on, you're a good Catholic.
They might need that.
Come on, I don't have to school you.
They might need that on their jersey.
Get you back in the catechesis.
I thought that was their mascot.
They might
I look up here, they're the
They
Wildcats.
might need it though. They might need that
Blessed
Friday.
Mothers running around with blue.
Yeah, they might need that Friday.
I would like to echo Joe. I got Andrean and the under.
You're going under. Okay.
But that new quarterback has played really well for them.
Yeah, no doubt. For a kid, for stepping into a tough situation, he really has. Indy Chittard 10-4 at Lawrenceburg 13-1. Swami said Chittard by 3. Over under is 49. Jake.
Chittard over.
Joe.
I'm going to take Lawrenceburg in the under.
He's doing everything he can to get back in this.
That one I'm going to gamble a little bit. Lawrenceburg's about time Lawrenceburg breaks through.
So that's how I want Lawrenceburg in the over. So technically, if I win both of mine, I go 2-0 and Joe gets 1 point.
That's how it works.
There we go.
I like this over-under thing.
Yeah, it's just more opportunities to have success or to fail miserably. You just never know. Class 4A, New Prairie, 13-1. Came back last week. They were down 9-0 late, was New Prairie, and they came back and won 10-9 against East Central. This is the team that Dwinger beat pretty handily in 2015.
Yep. We the Prairie.
Swami says East Central by 14, Jake, and the over-under is 50. Thoughts?
One quick comment. Absolute brutal way for Kokomo to lose that game.
Brutal.
9-0 heading into the fourth quarter.
I couldn't believe it.
I think it was like 3 minutes left.
And lose the game 10-9.
I couldn't believe it. I mean,
it's a basketball school. I'm just saying.
I mean, with that power rushing attack, Jake, how they not close that game out?
Heartbreak City.
Heartbreak City, indeed. But I will take East Central and the over.
Laying the 14, and you're going over?
Over.
Are you marking these overs and stuff for me? You're all
over
over this. Joe, who do you like
I'm
here?
all over it.
I'm going to take New Prairie plus the 14.
Of course you are.
And I'm going to take the under.
I see where this is going. This could be one of the worst beats ever. That's what we're Jake, I don't want to see this for your sake.
Casey, don't.
Too nice of a guy. This could be
I'm gonna pass him right at the tape. I'm gonna outlean him at the tape and smile.
How about you, Jeff? Who do you like?
Yeah, I mean East Central. They got studs all over the place. I like East Central. I'm going to go with the over.
Going with the over, okay. Class 5A, Valpo, 10-3, just ripped the hearts out of the Snyder Panthers last week. What a tough loss for Snyder versus Whiteland. Whiteland really feels like a team of destiny. This is a team that has not had much success in the postseason, but they have turned things around, have the Warriors. Swami says Whiteland by 9, Jake, and the over-under is 46.
To my homeboys up there in the region, everybody said you guys were down and out this year, just like they said the same thing about us. I'm taking Valpo in the under.
Joe?
Whiteland in the over.
You knew that was coming. Jeff?
Yeah, I'll take Whiteland and the under. But one thing I would like to note, Casey, is everybody's talking about Davis, the running back for Valpo.
Mm-hmm.
40 carries, 260 yards, and 2 touchdowns. How about Langston Level? 18 carries, 215 yards.
Monster game.
And with the 1 touchdown, had a long of 50, so actually had more yards per carry did Langston.
Yeah, I really feel bad for those Snyder kids. What a tough way to lose. 4th and 9 to give up that play. They had the right blitz call on it. And if they just corral that kid and get him to the ground before he reaches the goal line, they're playing this weekend.
Yeah.
And then on that 2-point conversion, it looked like to me, and again, I'm watching it on TV, it looked like they were beat the play before. Like just mentally, they were like, because Valpo didn't do anything special on the 2-point conversion. He just turned and handed the ball off, right? Yeah. But Heartbreak City, great season, though, to the Snyder Panthers. Keep your heads up, gentlemen. Same thing with Bishop Lures. They lost a tough one last week at Drue, and we knew that would be an uphill climb. But, again, graduating all those kids that they did a year ago to come back and play in a semi-state. Job well done to those coaches and players at Lures. Class 6A. I'm going to take a little pressure off of you here. I'm going to let you go last here because I didn't see how Price is Right is being played over here. Jeff, I'm going to go to you first. Carroll, unbeaten against Center Grove, 11-2. We talked a lot about this game earlier in the program. Swami says Center Grove by 7. Over-under is 59.
Well, I'm definitely going to go with the under. I think defenses will show up in this game. But come on, Casey. Center Grove by 7?
It's not me, it's the Swami. So
Swami?
Please don't use my name in that
well,
context.
come on, Swami. Let's go with Carroll for once in a change. So
I had Carroll all year long.
Carroll wins this game under 59.
Okay, they win it outright, so they're not even just covering. You think they win this thing outright?
Yeah, do I get more points for that?
No, you get nothing. Joe?
He's like, I quit.
Carroll 29, Center Grove 23.
Wow.
Best team ever. Possibly in the 2-6-0.
Does this replace the 92 Snyder
This
Panthers?
will replace the 92 Snyder Panthers. This will be the greatest team ever in the 2-6-0.
I hope
they
you're
will
right.
have gone undefeated and won the state championship at the 6A level.
On all
First
so
ever.
I don't need the 7 points. Carroll's going to win outright. And the game, I agree with Jeff, it'll be defense, and the game will be under the total.
I love it. I love these picks so far. Jake, your thoughts?
In professional wrestling, speaking with Stone Cold Steve Austin and things of this nature, there's what's called a baby face and a heel. Because obviously pro wrestling's not real, right? So the baby face is the guy that everybody likes, and he comes in like that's The Rock, the guy that the people love him, John Cena. Then there's the heel. That's the guy that nobody likes. He's a jerk. He comes in, but he plays. I'm taking Center Grove in the under.
Oh, my.
I'll be the heel.
Well, there you have it, folks.
There you have it.
We will. I'm sure there'll be some Twitter banter about this, and then of course maybe after I get my surgery, we can reconvene and talk about the all game night team. I'll be sending out ballots to all the coaches and to all you fine gentlemen and a few others in the media. So.
Are those mail-in ballots, Casey?
These will not be mail-in. These will be all counted the night of.
Okay.
Very nice.
Okay, we're not.
This isn't Maricopa County.
This isn't Maricopa County.
Okay. This is
That's
this is
but you know
Swami's
what?
basement. Damn
You know
it.
what? All that talk about all conference picks. That's the team you want to be
Yep.
on.
You can throw it out the window
That's
right
the team
now.
you want to be on.
We're going to put together a fantastic team, if you will, and I've already started on that. Got a lot of ballots back already, but waiting for these last few games. Go ahead, Jeff.
Just real quick, Casey, do you have a top 5 for Player of the Year?
Oh, gosh, why would you do this?
I heard you say Ryan Black. I think maybe a Brody Bolin could be in there. Oh, jeez.
Ajante Lambert.
Kamari Juarez.
Kamari Juarez. There's a
Kamari Juarez is a late entrant. Braden Staley. I usually like it to be a senior.
Bodie Dickerson.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
Think about
A lot
this.
from the SAC.
Since you put me on the spot here, I'm going to put you guys in the spot before we close this sucker down. I usually only have like 4 quarterbacks. Maybe there's a 5th, and you get him on as a defensive back. Who are the 4 quarterbacks? Think about the quarterback play here. You got Tyler Call and Carson Jacobs up at Eastside, and Riley Burroff from the NECC.
And quickly, I'm sorry to interrupt you with Carson Jacobs. Get well, brother. We love you.
Absolutely.
Carson
He'll-
Jacobs, he's got a torn ACL. He's going to get the surgery. I've been staying close with his mother online. And you know what? You're a winner, Carson.
He'll play
and
at
you
the
know
next
what?
level.
He'll like the Predator, brother. But go ahead, Casey.
Well, there's 3 good ones right there that I mentioned. Riley Burroff from Churubusco.
Yeah.
You've got the ACAC quarterbacks, Owen Warner and Ryan Black.
Yeah,
and then
that's
Jake
Jeff's
Snyder
guy,
from
Warner.
Woodland.
Yeah,
Well,
Warner
Kobe
was
Meyer
awesome.
from Heritage. Pretty darn good season. There's 4 good ones there. Now we
And
jump.
you can only have 4 total?
Probably, yeah. I mean, I try to put this team together like I'm fielding a college roster. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And you don't need 7 quarterbacks or 11 quarterbacks. So there's only so many spots. And then you jump into the Northeast 8. Who are some of those guys that jump
Piper.
out?
Tegan Irk.
Tagan Irk was fantastic.
Number 1.
Piper played well.
Piper played really
Yep, he
well,
did.
led his team.
Colton played very well.
I'm sure there's a couple that we're even forgetting. Then you jump into the SAC. My goodness.
Donovan Williams was really good too.
Donovan Williams, thank you. Forgot about Donovan. And then you've got the SAC. You've got, you got Bodie. You've got Luke Hoppert.
Eli Maddox
right?
was
you got Bubba. I mean,
man.
this is going to be a difficult task. But again, we get a little creative on some of our other. That's why any of these guys that play both ways, like a Ryan Black, man, you got to give him a little extra nudge, don't you?
Well, he's playing in the state championship game.
And playing in the state championship
Carson
game.
Jacobs
and
played.
What was it? 10 out of their 14 games have been running clock.
Yeah.
I hate the running clock, by the way.
Yeah,
I mean,
they covered a 63-point spread once,
somebody
too, I
needs to
guess.
catch
I
it.
heard once upon a time.
Yeah, that was the brutal beat down. That was Southern
beat.
Wells. That was a bad beat. That's the beat I think that's the beat that drove me out of the Fremont. That was
I think
was a bad beat.
It
man.
sent you sideways for sure.
Yeah, that put me out of the Fremont. That was a bad beat that night.
Well, we'll get back after maybe after the holidays, and we'll
Good luck
discuss
with your
all this.
hip. Good luck with your hip.
Yeah, thank you, and thank
God
you to
bless
you
you,
guys
brother.
for coming every week.
Sure.
And driving over here and spending the time to promote these kids and these teams. I get feedback all the time. I ran into a Snyder dad tonight. It happens all the time. Hey, you're the guy on Around the Fort. They're even saying it by name now, which is pretty cool. So for Jeff, for Joe, for Jake, I am Casey. Good night, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Go Carroll. Go Adams Central.
I was once a Southside kid who was led on a journey by high school football. A journey that taught me discipline, toughness, and the skills that made me a success. As a businessman with a CPA license who owns his own firm, I still use the building blocks of high school sports in my everyday life. Someday sports will end no matter what level you reach, but you will be left with the skills to compete in the next game, the game of life.
In 1952, my father, Jim Kelly, opened his first dealership. Thanks to loyal customers, dedicated employees, community support, and a bit of luck, his business grew. 70 years later, that dealership has become the Kelly Automotive Group, with 14 brands in 3 locations, including our new Fort Wayne Auto Mall. Thank you for 70 amazing years. It's been the ride of a lifetime. We hope you join us for the next 70.
Yo, what's going on? It's Antoine Taylor with Matrix QB. I'm so excited to announce our new book, The Quarterback Toolshed. Strictly designed to help you slow the game down so that you can speed up. Whether you're a parent, a coach, or a player, it's jam-packed with information. We're going to help you slow the game down by giving you a mental processor so that you can speed up. This resource has all the things you need, from reading the defense, passing mechanics, pre-snap filters, coverage ID, and much, much more. I'm so excited, and I can't wait to see you on the inside.